Now that we've got the basic navigation of CAD Creo covered, the next thing we should talk about is how to design and build your own parts. In the last video, downloaded a Tetrix kit of parts, but eventually you're probably going to come across a time when the design you want to build needs a part or a piece that isn't going to be in this kit of parts. So when that happens, you need to design your own part. To do that, you need to click New, select Part, and name your part. I'm going to call this Sledgehammer. Click OK. Now what you're going to get is a weird rectangle rhombus diamond type thing. And what these are the different planes of your building area. There's a front plane, a side plane, and a top plane. And what these indicate are the different sides of the object that you're going to build. When you build something in CAD Creo, how you kind of do it is you sketch it in two-dimensional, and then you stretch it or extrude it out into the third dimension, so what you got then is a three-dimensional object. So the first thing you need to do is select the plane that you want to build your object on. Now, from the name, you probably guessed what I'm building here. I'm building a sledgehammer, because I think it would be just awesome if our robot has a sledgehammer on it. So I'm going to click Extrude and select the plane that I wish to construct it on. I'm going to choose the top plane. And then I'm going to change the orientation of the model to the plane that I selected. So I chose the top plane, so I'm going to click this, and now I'm in the same plane as I'm going to be sketching in. After I selected the plane that I wanted to use for the extrude, it entered the sketching mode. And as you can see, a bunch of different tools popped up here that can be used to create the two-dimensional object that I want to extrude into a three-dimensional object. Now, when you think of a sledgehammer, it's really got two different parts. It's got the large 8-pound lead hammer part, and then it's got the handle. So I'm going to build it in two different parts. First, I'm going to build the hammer. And to do that, it's just kind of a circle, really. So I'm just going to build my circle, and then once you have that built, you just kind of push the middle mouse button. That's going to say you're done sketching for the moment. So now I've got a circle, and it's 74.44 inches wide, and I don't think I need a sledgehammer that big. So I'm going to change it down to like 2 inches. That seems like a good width for my sledgehammer. 2 inches. Alright. Now I'm going to click OK. And it's going to automatically extrude it to a length. And for some reason that always defaults to a really long length. That'd be one stinking long sledgehammer. I'm going to change it to, I don't know, 4 inches. That's good. Does that look right? Yeah, that looks good. I like it. Let's go with it. So once you're done sketching, you just click the green check mark, and you've got your first part made. So next I want to add the handle. So to do that, I'm going to do basically the same thing as before. I'm going to select my plane. I'm going to go with the, let's see, which plane is that? That's the front plane. So I'm going to extrude it, my handle on the front plane. I'm going to go with this one. And change my viewpoint to front. Then I'm going to just sketch a circle right there. I'm going to center it right in the middle here. I don't know, it doesn't need to be exact. I'm just going to kind of freehand it. That looks pretty good. Alright, 1.26. I'm going to change it to 1.25. 1.25 radius. I'm going to click OK. And the length is 1.22. I don't know. I think the handle needs to be a little bit longer than that. Let's go 12 inches. That looks about right. Maybe a little bit too long. We'll change it to 10. And then I'll select, done. Alright, so that's a decent looking sledgehammer right there. Could use a little work in places, such as right here. I think I kind of want this handle to be a little bit, less sharp. I might hurt my hand on it or something. So to do that, I'm going to use the round tool here. There's a whole bunch of tools up here I can use. There's rounding, there's hole, chamfer. I want to round my handle. So I chose round and then select the edge that I want to round. It defaulted to 0.14 inches, which for rounds and chamfers is the distance from the old edge to the end of the round or chamfer. So I think that looks pretty good. I don't know, maybe change it to something a little bit nicer. 1, 2, 5, 1/8 of an inch. And then you click enter to enter your new information. That looks pretty good. I like it. And I also think this needs to be rounded or something. I don't really want it rounded. I want it to cause damage, but oops, I forgot to save that. But I think I'll add a chamfer to it. So I'm going to put that on this edge here. Just select my edge just like I did with round. And it's going to do 0.13. Now with chamfer, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. Right now it just defaults to this length is equal to this length. So I'll just set it to 0.25 right now just to make it easier to see. So here you can see it's a nice 45-degree angle chamfer. But sometime you might want it to be on different angle or something. So to change that, you can change the settings here. There's a couple different ones. There's angle times distance, 45 distance, stuff like that. The one I use the most is distance 1, distance 2. With this, you can change individual distances. That's what I'm going to use for this hammer. I think I want it to be like 1/8 of an inch by 1/4 inch. That looks pretty good. Now, a nice feature with chamfer round 2, I think, is if you got a couple different edges you want to do this to, you don't have to just redo this for each edge. You can just click on the edge you want, and it'll also add it to that edge too. So now I just kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 2 sides of a hammer with 1 stone. So I'm going to save it, select done. It's looking pretty good. But I think there's one more thing actually that we should do here. I should probably cover. It doesn't really matter when you're designing a robot or something, but if you would be using this for something else, or maybe you care about how it looks, you might want to add some appearances to make it look a little bit better. To change the color of the sledgehammer, I'm going to go under the Render tab and click on Appearances. I think I want this to be kind of a metallic black-gray color, and I'm not seeing that color in here, so I'm going to go More Appearances, search for one, Color Wheel, and I don't see brown. I think it's probably somewhere in here. Actually, I'm looking for black is what I'm looking for. Gray black. There we go. And a nice, that looks pretty good. I like that. Alright. Okay. And now we got the color, but there's different classes you can add to it. It kind of changes the shine of it and stuff. So I want this to be I want it to be metal. And if it's metal, it's also got a reflection color. So I'm just going to change the reflection color to same thing, or close to the same thing at least. Actually, I think sledgehammers are usually made out of cast iron or something, so they don't really have much of a shine. So I'm actually going to change this to darker shadow. That looks good. Alright, I like it. So now I'm going to paint the different parts of this. I'm going to paint that one. In Creo, when you want to add multiple parts, it's just like normal, like you would in File Explorer or anything. You just push down Control, then you select the next thing that you want to color. So I'm just going to select all the edges here. Done. Alright. Now I'm just going to click OK. It's a nice, beautiful shade of black. Now I think I want the handle to be brown. I don't really like that dingy shade of gray. So I'm going to go into Appearance Gallery again and get a wood appearance. I think there's an actual wood appearance there. Alright. Do that, this, that, done. Alright. There. That's a good looking sledgehammer. Alright. I think that's all for now. Gonna save it again. And we got a sledgehammer. This will be of invaluable use to our robot this year. I can just think of so many ways we're gonna be able to use this. Alright, I was about to move on from the sledgehammer to the next part of this video, but I just remembered I forgot to add a way to attach the sledgehammer onto the robot, which could be a bit of a problem. So I'm just going to go and do that quick right now. I think how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to attach a motor there and maybe put another one in tandem on the other side. But to do that, we kind of need holes in the handle part of the hammer, and it also needs to be flat so it can get mounted up easy to the bracket. So first thing I should probably do is get the flat surface done. So I'm going to extrude and choose this surface here, and then I'm going to align my viewpoint with that. Now I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and I don't really care about these two sides here. They can really be any length. Oops, that's not working. But so I'm just going to change this to some nice round number like 1.25. Then I'm going to change my height to 1.5, because I don't care how long it is as long as it's just getting rid of all this extra material on the side. And then I'm going to change this to 0.375. So I'm centered at 0.375, and then I think I'm going to make the width of this flat area to be 0.75. Alright, that looks good. And right now it's defaulting to add material, but I want to remove material, so I'm going to click this button here. Now these two little pink arrows have popped up on my extrude, and these control the direction that this extrude is going to go, and right now it's set for in and towards the plane. And I'm going to change these little arrows here. This one, actually first I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it so it's facing in. That kind of looks like I want to have it, except it's the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the second arrow and have it facing out. So now it's getting rid of all the extra material, and I've got two nice flat surfaces to build my holes on. And I'm going to change this to 0.5 for now, I think. No, that's way too short. 1.225. Alright, so that should do it. Now I'm going to add the holes. To do this, I need to first find the dimensions that I'm going to use for this. So to do that, I'm going to open up another model that already has the dimensions that I'm looking for and copy them to this model. I think I'm going to get the dimensions from the axle bracket that this is going to be attached to. To get the measurements of this piece, I need to go to the Analysis tab and select the Measure tool. As you would expect, this tool allows you to measure distances. It can be used to measure the length of an edge, the diameter of a circle, the area of a surface, the distance between 2 points, and other cool stuff. To get the measurements I need, I'm going to measure the distances from this model, copy them to Notepad, and then re-enter them on the sledgehammer model. The first measurement I think I'm going to take is the one for the axle. To measure something with this tool, if it's like a surface or an edge, you can just click on it. Or if you're trying to get the distance between 2 points or 2 edges, you click on the first edge or point and then press Control and then select the next edge or point. So I'm just going to take this number and put it into Notepad. And now I'm going to get the measurements for the screw holes. And lastly, I'm going to take the measurement of the distance between the two holes. Control. 16 millimeters. Alright, so now I got all my measurements. Now I'm just going to X this out. You may have noticed that the units of measure on that bracket didn't match up with the ones on my sledgehammer. And that's because all the Tetrix models' dimensions are in millimeters, which is a problem. If I tried to copy the measurements as they are, we would have problems. To remedy this, I'm going to click on Repair and select Model Properties. Then I'm going to change the units of measure from English to metric. Okay, first I want to make the axle hole. To make a hole in an object, you click on the Hole tool and select the plane that you want it on. And now I'm going to change the width of this to the value that I recorded in Notepad, which was 6.1, I believe. Now I'm going to set the location of the hole. The distance between the two holes is 16. To set the location of the hole, it needs 3 references. It already has the placement reference from the plane that I selected right away, but it still needs 2 more references to set its position on that surface. So I'm going to select my first reference, press Control, and select the second reference. I'm going to change this to 8. And let's see here. Actually, I screwed this up. I'm going to select this to I should use this as my second. Alright, there we go. So instead of using this side, I used the one of the planes here that comes to the middle of this. Actually, this would be an axis is what this is. It's an axis. Because when we made the circle, it created an axis at this circle's center point. So I'm going to just change this to 0. It's going to be centered right on this, so it would be the dead center of this, which is really nice. That's where I want it. Then the length is just going to be 8 from this edge. And that looks about right. So now I got the axle hole. Now I just need another hole for the screw. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm just going to add a hole to this plane, placement, axis. Oops, that was wrong. I always mess that up. Axis and the bottom of the hammer. This measurement was 2.705. And this measurement is 16 because that was the width in between the two holes. So the distance from this axis, this center of this hole to this hole is obviously 8, since from here to here is 8. I'll just change this to 0, and there it is. Alright, that's pretty good. Except this looks kind of goofy right now. I don't think I lined that up quite right. So if you ever want to change a measurement, you can go to the model tree on the left. The model tree is a list of all the features that have been added to the model, such as extrudes, rounds, holes, data planes, and others. So I'm going to select the extrude that I used to make the flat surface, right click and choose Edit. This is going to let me edit all the properties of it. So I'm going to edit the length. I'm going to change it to 20 maybe. That's a little short. I'll try 22. There we go. That should do it. Alright. So I think that's it. It's looking good. Probably want to add my appearance to it. Otherwise it's just going to look kind of awkward. Okay. And I need to add it to the holes too. There we go. Oh, one more spot. There we go. Alright, that's it. Our beautiful sledgehammer is now officially complete. Since the theme of the challenge this year is block party, I think there's another thing we should make for a robot. I want to make a bucket that can pick up and move blocks around. When you're making a new model, it's sometimes helpful to put the year and date, or probably just the year that you're making this, so you know kind of which model is which and you can keep them straight and organized. Bucket. I do not know how to spell. Alright, so again we're going to just get the 3-plane building area. How I want to make this bucket, I think, is since the blocks are each 2 inches wide, I think I want to make it probably 5 inches wide, so there's room for 4 inches of blocks on each side, 4, 4. And I think I'll add just another inch for, driver error. So I think I'm going to start sketching it from the side. So just like before, I'm going to find my plane. And I am going to go with, I think I'm going to go with the right side plane. Extrude, I already have the plane selected, so it defaults to that one. Now I'm going to change my viewpoint to left, that's the side. Alright, so just need a rectangle on here. I'm going to make it kind of smaller so that I don't have to change the measurements so much. Alright, so now we got 21 by 11, 10.3. All these, you see all these measurements here. This is obviously the width of it, and this is the height. This measurement here is the distance from this edge to the this would be probably the X plane, and then from here to here is the distance from this side to the Y plane. And since we're drawing in the, I don't know, this would probably be the Z plane, that means that this will be the center of the area. So these are just the distances to the center, so we can try to center up our model. So I think the dimensions I wanted here were 5 inches wide, enter, and I want it to be, I think I'm going to go with 2.5 inches high because the blocks are 2 inches and this gives a little bit extra for mess up. Not that the awesome drivers on my team ever mess up, but nobody's perfect. Alright, and now I just want to get it centered so it's a little bit easier to manage. 1.25, it's the middle of it. I figured that out so fast because I'm terrible at math, yeah. And this is 2.5. There we go. Alright, so that's pretty good, but I still want to add a few things here. I'd like to kind of cut off this area here. And actually, I think I'm going to cut it off like here to here. I think that'd be good. And I'm going to leave this part here on. I'm going to leave this as like a top so the blocks can't fall out as easy. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to just stop it right there so it can catch the second block too. So let's see what the easiest way to do this would be. I think I'm going to just add a line here. Now there is an easier way to do this. I can just use the chamfer tool, but I kind of want to show you a few features of Sketcher. So I'm just going to connect this line here. Creo automatically has lines that you're drawing snap to different lines and coordinates. So like it snaps to this line, snaps to corners, snaps to data planes, all that good stuff. That's kind of handy. So I'm just going to have connect there, and there we go. We got a whole bunch of mess here. Now kind of what I did here is I've got a line here and a line here, so I've got a solid figure here. But then I added this other line, and Creo's like, what are you doing? You already had a solid figure and you messed it up, you doofus. So I got to get rid of these lines. And to do that, we got the delete segment tool. And to use this, you just kind of trace like that over the lines you want to get rid of. And then you let go, delete, and then I missed one. There you go. Now it's a solid figure again. and Creo recognizes this as a solid enclosed figure, and it's all good. Everybody's happy again. Yeah, once you get done, if the figure that you have is enclosed, it recognizes it as an enclosed figure if it gets shaded again when you're done, when you do the middle mouse click saying you're done with your whatever it is you're doing. So I do kind of want to adjust some stuff here. 3.12 is kind of a zany number, so I think I'm going to change that to 4 maybe. That seems a little bit too rough. I think I'm going to change to 3.5. That looks pretty good. Now this corner's matched up with that corner, so that's all good. So this looks like a pretty good side profile of my bucket. I'm going to click OK and go with it. Now it's extruded it to 2.97 inch width. And like I said before, I want it to be 5 inch width. So from the top we got a nice little square that can fit 4 blocks. And it's kind of got a nice sloped front, so it's easier to get it. So I'm going to do confirm, and now we've got a box, but I don't think any blocks can fit in here because we still got this area right here. So we got to do something about that. We need to turn this into a shell. We kind of need to get rid of this area here. The one way we could kind of try to do this is with extrude. I could do kind of what I did with before with that hammer and remove material from the middle, but that'd be kind of complicated and hard to do. A much easier way to do this is use this awesome shell tool here. And so what this does is just makes a shell out of my model. So I'm just going to click a side that it's going to do its shell from, and look at that, it just made a shell out of my bucket. Then all I have to do is adjust the thickness. I'm going to change it to 0.07 and done. That was really slick. Alright, so the bucket is now mostly done, except still kind of needs some way to attach it to the robot. So I'm just going to use the measurements that I got from the bracket that I opened before and just copy them over to this and make some holes the same way I did with the hammer. So that should do it. Got my bucket, got 2 holes to connect it with. I think that's done. I'm not going to add any appearances to this. We already covered that, and I don't need the bucket to look too pretty. So I think I got all my parts made. Feel free to watch the next video in which I'll be building an awesome robot. Thank you for watching.